The fog whispers. My name at night. The first time the fog whispered my name, I was sure I was dreaming. Now, not so much. It started as this faint breath of a sound, the kind of thing you'd easily mistake for the wind sighing through the pine trees that crowd the edge of my property. It's a sound I'd actually grown to like since moving to this small house by the lake. I came here for the quiet, for the solitude. I wanted to be somewhere the world couldn't find me. I just never thought something else might. Section 1, the stillness before. I picked this house very deliberately. It's old, made of stone and dark wood, and it sits a good 2 miles from the nearest paved road. Its best feature is the wide, glass-paned porch that looks out over the lake. On clear days, the water is a sheet of polished black glass, reflecting the sky with a clarity that's almost unnerving. Most days, though, aren't clear. Most days, we have fog. Here, the fog is a constant companion, especially in the mornings and evenings. It rolls off the water in this slow, silent tide, swallowing the trees, the shore, and then, eventually, the house itself. At first, I thought it was beautiful. It gave the place atmosphere. It deadened the sound of the outside world and made my little piece of land feel like the only place on Earth. It felt safe. The fog was just fog, water vapor, a predictable weather event. It didn't have a voice. It didn't have intentions. I was so sure of that. My first few months here were peaceful, just marked by the changing seasons and the slow work of making the old house a home. I'd spend my days in the garden or fixing the leaky roof, and my evenings reading on the porch, watching the mist gather over the still black water. It was a simple, quiet life. And then, one night in late autumn, the quiet broke. Section 2, the first whisper. It was just after midnight. A really dense bank of fog had rolled in, so thick I couldn't even see the tree line 100 feet away. It was pressing against the glass of the porch, blurring the moonlight into a diffuse, milky glow. I was just about to head to bed when I heard it. It was a sound so faint it was more a feeling than anything else. A vibration in the air, a sibilant, drawn-out whisper that seemed to have slithered right through a crack in the window frame. It sounded like my name. I froze, teacup halfway to my lips. I held my breath, straining to hear it again, but there was only the low hum of the refrigerator and the groan of the old house settling. It had to be the wind, or a branch scraping against the siding. My mind raced for a rational explanation. The brain's a pattern recognition machine, right? It can pull voices and music out of the meaningless hum of a fan or the rush of water. It's a real thing. It's called auditory pareidolia, the mind trying to make sense of random noise. That's all it was. I told myself it was just a trick of the mind in a silent house. I dismissed it, locked up, and went to bed. But a little seed of unease had been planted, and I found myself listening for it in the silence between my own heartbeats. Section 3, the escalation. A week went by. The weather was clear and crisp, the fog was gone, and the memory of that whisper started to fade. I felt a little foolish for having been so freaked out. Then, the fog returned, and the voice came back with it. This time, I was outside, trying to secure a tarp over my woodpile before a storm. The mist was curling around my ankles, cold and damp. And then the whisper. Clearer this time, undeniably, my name. It wasn't being carried on the wind. It seemed to rise up from the fog itself, from every direction at once. I spun around, my heart hammering. The woods were just a wall of gray. The lake was invisible, but I could hear the gentle lapping of the water on the shore. And I felt a pull. It wasn't physical. It was this sudden, intrusive thought. A strange and powerful urge to walk towards the water. Just to see, just to look. I took a step, then another. It felt like my feet were moving on their own. I managed to stop myself at the edge of the lawn, where the neat grass gives way to the wild, muddy bank of the lake. The air was thick with the smell of wet earth and decay. The cold seemed to snap me out of it. What was I doing? I turned and fled back to the house, my boots sinking into the soft ground. I slammed the door and leaned against it, breathing hard, my mind reeling. I hadn't just heard something, I had almost done something, completely against my own will. The days that followed were a quiet kind of hell. I became a prisoner in my own home. I kept the windows shut and played music all the time, just to have a buffer of noise. During the day, when the sun was out, I felt like I was losing my mind. The lake looked so placid, so harmless. I started digging around online, looking into old county records and local folklore sites. I found scattered mentions of the lake. Welsh legends talk about lakes being doorways to another world, a place called Anduin. Other cultures tell stories about water spirits that lure people to their deaths. I found a story about a fog walker in Irish myth, a being that calls you by name from the mist. But it was all just that, myths, nothing solid, nothing that explained the violation I felt, the feeling of my own mind being turned against me. Section 4. The deepening dread. The third time it happened, I was ready, or at least I told myself I was. I decided I wasn't going to fight it. I was going to confront it. When the fog rolled in that evening, thick as cotton, I sat on the porch, wrapped in a blanket, and just waited. It didn't take long. The whisper started, my name, over and over, soft and insistent. Come. The urge was so much stronger this time, a physical weight pushing on me, telling me to get up. I stood, my body feeling strangely light, almost detached from myself. I walked off the porch, across the cold, damp lawn, and this time, I didn't stop at the shore. I walked right into the water. The fog was so dense, I couldn't even see. The fog was so dense, I couldn't even see the house behind me. I was in a world of gray and black. The voice was right in front of me now, just a few feet away, whispering from a spot on the water's surface, where the mist was swirling in this strange, unnatural way. For a terrifying second, I saw a shape in the fog. It wasn't human, it was just a distortion. A patch of mist that was darker than the rest. A vague, vertical outline that seemed to form and then dissolve back into nothing. It was the not knowing, the absolute uncertainty of what I was looking at, that terrified me the most. It took every last ounce of will I had to turn and stumble back to shore. I couldn't run. It felt like I was pulling my legs out of thick mud. I made it back to the house, shivering uncontrollably from cold and fear, and just collapsed on the floor, my mind a screaming void. It wasn't just calling me anymore. It was taking me. Section 5. The surrender. I knew I had to leave. I packed a bag the next morning, my hand shaking so badly I could barely work the zipper. I'll leave at noon, I told myself. I just had to make it through the morning. But as the hours crept by, this weird lethargy settled over me. A profound, bone-deep exhaustion. The desperate need to escape was replaced by a sense of inevitability. What was the point? So many cultures believe fog is a veil between worlds, a medium spirits can use. I could feel that veil closing around me. The fog came in early that day. By late afternoon, the house was completely surrounded. This time, there was no pretending it was the wind or my imagination. The moment the mist touched the windows, the voice was there. Not outside. It was inside. In the room with me. It was in my head. A clear, calm, intimate voice that spoke my name with a tenderness that was more horrifying than any scream. And I just gave up. The fight went out of me. All the fear, the panic, it all just drained away, replaced by this hollow, peaceful resignation. I stood up from my chair, left my packed bag on the floor, and walked to the front door. I didn't feel forced. I felt willing. I walked the now familiar path to the water's edge. The world was silent except for that voice, which wasn't a whisper anymore, but a constant, soothing murmur all around me. I stepped into the water. It wasn't cold. It felt like nothing at all. I waded deeper, to my knees, to my waist. The fog enveloped me, the damp air clinging to my skin like a shroud. I was cut off from everything: land, home, reality. There was only the gray, the water, and the voice. I saw the shape again, right in front of me, closer, taller. A deep shadow in the mist, a void where light wasn't. It had a presence, an immense feeling of age and patience. I felt a cold, slick touch brush against my arm. It wasn't aggressive, it was gentle, guiding. It tugged me forward, deeper into the lake. I was up to my chest in the water, my feet barely touching the silty bottom. I didn't struggle, I just watched the shadow, waiting. Conclusion. That's when the phone rang. The sound was so jarring, an alien screech that ripped through my muted world of fog and water. It was my sister. I knew it was her Tuesday night call. For just a split second, the spell was broken. Reality, sharp and violent, came rushing back. The crushing cold of the water, the suffocating thickness of the fog, the absolute terror of the thing that was touching my arm. I screamed. I tore my arm away and scrambled backward, falling into the water, choking as the icy liquid filled my mouth. I thrashed wildly, trying to get my feet under me as I clawed my way back toward the shore. I didn't look back. I couldn't. I crawled onto the muddy bank, gasping and sobbing, and dragged myself back to the house, back to the sound of the still ringing phone. I left that night. I threw my wet, muddy clothes in a heap on the floor and just drove. I didn't look back. I never went back. I sold the house through a realtor, took a loss, and told them to just throw everything else away. I live in the city now. There are no lakes, no quiet woods, only the constant noise of traffic and people and life. It's a shield. But sometimes, on a quiet night, when the steam from a hot shower fogs up the bathroom mirror, I hear it. A faint, distant breath. A sound like the wind, whispering my name. The truly terrifying part is, I still don't know what it wanted, or if one day it's going to find me again. Some things, once they know your name, never forget. If you've had an experience you can't explain, something that still haunts your every quiet moment, I want to hear about it. Send your story to the email in the description below.